keys, that will be okay. And then you've got these invisible trade-offs. That's even worse because you don't know, and you have to like audit the box like a black box. Usually it's based on signature, so that parsers, how to analyze protocols. Okay, how do I analyze HTTP, SMTP, FTP, all this? How do I analyze context? Okay, how do I guess that this is a URL, this is a mail attachment, or whatever? And then the same, like all vendors says, I've got regular expression. Which kind of engine? DFA, NFA, which family? PCRA, something else? Where from? Okay, you don't know that. That's trade-off that has been made. Vendors know, and I'm going to tell you. And maybe the worst one during my test, that's scandalous trade-off. Okay, you see, I'm just sending an exploit. So on the left, you've got what the client sends, what the server receives. In the middle, what the IPS does. So first, I send SYN, ACK, and then I launch my attack. Okay, once again, this stupid signature. What I see is that the IPS is going to send resets on both sides. Okay, with different kind of sequence numbers. So it differently shows, it doesn't follow the session. Or it follows like more or less. And even worse, at the end, the exploit is passed through the IPS to the server. So the IPS just relies on the fact that, okay, with all these resets, I've got a chance that session is going to be closed, and then the attack is not going to be efficient. Okay, we'll find no documentation about that. Of course, you have to audit the system to make sure. So you see, there are a lot of trade-offs which have been made. That's only for performance issues. Performance is a pain, I can tell you. So how to test all those limitations? I did start to write a small tool, which is still very early stage code, which will help you just, well, to test for some features, okay? So it's kind of modular architecture, and you've got different categories of tests. Detection and identification, scan, fingerprinting, evasion, DOS attacks, and false positives. I provide some scripting capabilities. If you want to compare two IPSs, you need exactly the same sequence of tests. You just have to replay the test. Very simple reporting. So I've got the interface. And if you want to test more specifically HTTP limitations, we'll have, first of all, different kind of exploits. Why? Because some exploits are sometimes very tricky in terms of signing without false positive. So if you see the list of exploits, it looks like, well, kind of stupid, like the OSTAT exploit, PHPBB. I think I've got, I don't know. But it makes it possible to test without even you knowing, but some regular expression mechanism, some, well, decoding features, just on one simple exploit, without any evasion technique. And then I provide some evasion techniques, URL mutation, so different techniques, and I perform a test before, because sometimes, okay, you have got a lot of mutation techniques, you send the URL and say, hey, it's not blocked. Yeah, but it's not understood by the server anyway, so that's no interest. So here it will test, make sure that the server understands the mutation, and then you will be able to test it with your IPS. Of course, HTTP request smuggling, very important, because a lot of IPSs are not going to be able to detect this kind of attack, so different ways of smuggling, of course, because you've got different mechanisms. But we'll say that most of the time you will be capable, will be able to bypass IPSs, even layer 7 and all this stuff. And insertion. Insertion mechanism here is based on layer 4 checksum validation. And I've got, well, a tool which is standalone just to test this feature. Very easy. And you see that a lot of IPSs don't test for this kind of feature. And then, well, testing the CRPC. So it's just the code I showed you, which is included into this framework, just, well, makes it possible to play with this very old exploit with, well, shellcode obfuscation, change the resource name, remote port, bind on multiple interface. So it's still the old way. So it means the Metasploit way. You have to audit it a little bit. I mean, change a little bit the code if you want it to bypass some IPSs. But I know you will be able to do that. That's pretty easy. Context alteration. And, well, of course, playing with fragmentation. So fragmentation is really very fun at DCRPC. So yeah, make it possible just to do fragmentation at layer 4, layer 7, and then do some pipelining. Also a feature just to trigger offload. The first time I discovered this offload mechanism, I was just sending snot, on, through an IPS, so a lot of packets per second, a lot of alerts, and I just launched my attack, and hey, it's not blocked. Why? Because the IPS was just offloading, say, oh wow, that's too much traffic, I pass it, I don't have time to analyze it. So of course, no packets were dropped. I did a test, but my attack just went through. So here, I'll provide a DOS module. Well, it can be used to test for DOS protection, but also just to test for offloading of the IPS. Because, you know, most of the time, they're small packets, so it's going to use a lot of your network processors, maybe your CPU, and it's going to trigger offloading pretty easy. And SNOT is not included into the framework, but you can do it yourself, okay? With this DOS mechanism running in the background, you will essentially offload or overflow network processors. With SNOT, it will be the signature engine, so usually a CPU or some specific ASICs that's going to be overloaded. But anyway, traffic is going to be bypassed, so no problem for you. So, as a conclusion, IPSs can be detected. Okay, we saw that. They can be bypassed, and you can pretty easily generate denial of service attacks. And that's because of cost. That's, I think, most important thing. Physical limitations. We saw that with hardware, design, all this. And of course, the CSO's fear of unemployment. Just, first of all, the traffic must go, then security. So, okay, is that all that bad? I mean, what about these IPSs? No, it's not. Just the problem is that you have to be aware of the limitations, once again. Don't believe that you've got the magic box. Don't believe that the IPS is going to be able to block any kind of attack with any kind of obfuscation technique in any context. No. Just acquire an IPS for what you want. You need to get protection against SYN floods, then get the best IPS you can find for SYN flood protection. And don't ask this IPS in the meantime to do bandwidth management, to do, I don't know, signature analysis, and all this. So you need to know the limitations, so it will be possible for you just to, well, to get the right solution, and you have to understand it. You have to understand which will be the limitations, because even if you've got the best product for this problem you face, this product have limitation. Maybe it can be detected. Maybe at some point can be offloaded or overloaded, and all this. Then you have just to realize that's kind of logic. Okay, it's logical. I mean, there's no perfect solution. When you've got a limited amount of memory, and this memory is completely full with frags, what do I do with the next frag that comes? Either I drop it, so I drop packets, or I forward it. It's logical, and just normal. And also you have to accept the fact that it may be expensive to have a good product, okay? That's one problem with vendors. They're fighting for low prices. It means they're going to make some choices which are not good, maybe. But that's the only solution to have those products not too expensive, because we know customers are not going to buy too expensive products. Well, I can understand them sometimes. And of course, you have to know what you want, okay? And that's another problem. You need some skillful people to test IPSs before you deploy them. But that's another story. So thank you for your attention. If you've got any question. It was really boring. Okay, so thank you.